throughout the semester, we've been talking about how charts can tell a story and how we need our charts to be able to do that pretty clearly, and we need them to draw the eye to a particular thing that we're trying to show people. Well, I'm going to show you something today that will help do that, with particularly with scatter plots. It's going to use a library called ggalt, which you'll need to install. You can do so just like this. ggalt is an addition to ggplot. It adds a bunch of different little functions in it. In my view, the most useful one is something called Encircle. So we'll go ahead and load up our libraries like we're used to. So the example I'm going to do here is showing you the, let's just look at maybe, actually I'm going to skip this one. I'm going to show you the best 3-point shooters that Nebraska had, where they were. And I'm going to ask the question, did Fred Hoiberg actually install his offense? So let's just go ahead and read in our players data, the players 20 data. We've used it before. And on import, I'm just going to go ahead and filter out everybody who didn't play this season and 0 minutes. So we'll skip down here. Okay, so I'm going to take the top Nebraska basketball players. So first thing I'm going to do is filter out just Nebraska players, and then I'm going to give it this bit of code here. I'm going to say give me the top 3 by 3-point attempts. So who tossed up the most 3-point shots on Nebraska's roster? Hoiberg's offense is around shooting threes and getting layups and dunks. So you're either really close to the basket or you're in 3-point land. None of this mid-range jump shot crap. So if I do that, I've got NU top. Just like anything else, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to grab pieces of this and just peel it away for a second. So we've done this before. Here is a scatter plot that has all of college basketball players in it based on the number of 3-point attempts that they made versus the number of minutes that they played. So out here is the players who played more than 900 minutes, and on above this line here is players that took more than 200 3-point attempts. So out here are your players who are playing a lot and they're chucking up a bunch of threes. So ideally, that would be, at least theoretically, what Hoiberg would want. So now I'm going to add in Nebraska's players to this, and there they are. These are the top 3 players in Nebraska's roster that took 3-point shots. All of them are above 100, at least there's that. But none of them are in this sort of rarefied air of 200 3-point shots, and only one of them played a huge amount of minutes. You can probably guess who this is right here. That would be Cam Mack. So the thing that ggalt does, and does it really, really well, is this geom encircle. I'm going to drop this out here just to make it a little bit more visible, but it adds a geometry called geom encircle. I'm going to give it my data, my NU top. It has the exact same aesthetic as my geom point. So everything here remains the same. The only thing that's changed is the geom encircle. So data and the aesthetic are the same. Thing I'm going to add is this S shape and this expand. And what that does is it controls how the shape is drawn and how far out from the dots they are. And then I'm going to add color is red. So this is going to add a red circle to my chart just like that, and there they are. We can play with this shape. If we make the shape 1, it makes it a triangle. It takes all the curve out of it. If we make it 0, it makes it all curve. There's no angle to it, and everything in between gives you just some sort of flavor. Honestly, to get it right, you're just going to have to play with it a little bit. The expand, same way. If I make this 1, it'll cover everything. If I make this 0, it tries to go through all of them. So you kind of got to play around with something in between, and there's all kinds of different numbers. Obviously 0.5 is not very good, so I think I had 0.18 in here, and that gives me close enough that it doesn't touch this one here. I'm not real happy with this, but it works. It'll be okay. So that's Geom Encircle. That's really all it is. It's super simple. But now if I add some headline and point out that Nebraska's top 3-point shooters were nowhere near the tops in college basketball, I label this with a Geom text. I add in a manual X and Y. So I just sort of fiddle around with, well, 100 is probably a pretty good line to put this on. And it's about 400 minutes right around in here to put the middle of that word. So that label works pretty well right where it's at. I add some other labels to this. I add the pieces, parts that I need to make this a chart, and it looks pretty good. The other example that's in the chapter looks at the top scorers in college basketball, and I can run through that real quick, but it's the same thing. I look at this and I'm like, okay, who are the top scorers in college basketball? Well, they probably scored more than 600 points and probably played more than 900 minutes or something like that. And I said 650, so that's who your top players are. And if I encircle those, you get, well, that's a bad example. Here we go. I'll give you the finished product. There's your top scorers. And if you look at the top scorers in college basketball, only 2 of them were actually Wooden Award finalists. So that's interesting to me that the consensus player of the year is nowhere in there, and who won it, which was Obi Toppin, nowhere in there. So anyway, that's Geom Encircle. Gives you an idea of what you can do to just sort of show where these things are if you're trying to highlight a group of people or something like that. Geom Encircle works really, really nicely, and it does not add a ton of code to be able to do it. So check out the assignment, and good luck.